Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my TFT patch 10.10 note rundown. Before I usually talk about my patch note rundowns, I talk about the state of the meta. Currently, the meta is infested with hyper roll comps. A lot of the reasoning for that is because, one, they're really strong. Before I go too much further, hyper rolling is never leveling, and then at 3-1 with level 4, 8 out of 10 XP, rolling all your gold down for 3-star 1-cost units. The big ones are Xayah and Poppy are like monstrous right now, both of which I know are getting nerfed in this patch. But let's talk a little bit about why these are so effective. One, they're overtuned, like stat-wise, and that's okay, that's reasonable. But a lot of the other reason is because there's no real effective mid-game 3-cost carry. So like you'll just get your ass beat up by really, really strong 1-costs. And legendaries themselves aren't very powerful at the tail end, with the exception of investing a lot of gold. So the 5-costs aren't as good. The 1-costs are therefore maintaining themselves throughout the game way too well, even with suboptimal items. And don't get me wrong, like GP2 obviously with full upgrades, MF2 with full upgrades, really, really strong units. But we have stuff like Soul Echo, which they're pretty much unsplashable. Like you can't play either of those champions without having Cyber or Rebel, or else it's pretty much griefing your comp. Too much of their power is inner synergy, and so it makes it so it's really difficult to build a composition with a lot of 5-cost carries unless you're playing something that can kind of splash into. That's like Rebels pretty much, that can splash into GP, MF, and Lulu. Anyways, let's keep going. Welcome, captains. Shepherd your crew through patch 10.10 in the new Galactic Armor Galaxy. So one new galaxy. In this galaxy, all players start with the same 2 full items. Leverage that early power more efficiently than your opponent to achieve victory. Balance changes are starting to lighten up and settle in to prepare for the mid-season set update. The biggest changes are coming for strong tier 1 champions Poppy, TF, and Xayah. Okay, cool. I'll talk more about this galaxy when we hit it in the patch notes. So this is it. This is really bright. Like, ultra. I kind of wish they made it like more neon, but like it's a little painful on my eyes. But you guys can look at it for a sec, and I'm gonna keep scrolling down. Okay, so what are they doing? Super Nets. Okay, this is my least favorite galaxy because it forces you to pre-level, or else you'll take 10 to 11 damage at 2-5 and 2-4. So you have to double level, and so you're level 5 after carousel, or else if you're low rolling, you get hit with a bunch of damage. Taking 20 damage on stage 2, probably not optimal, because you're pretty much starting the game at like 80 or 70 life, like starting to play the game if you don't roll well. So now Super Nets is free fawn after stage 3, which means you can econ more appropriately in stage 2, so you don't have to do really dumb stuff like pre-leveling even if you're losing. Cool. If you attempt to use Nico's help on a unit with no copies left in the bag, you'll now see a message telling you why it isn't working. Okay. That's okay. This is huge. Really like this. Reduce the chances of full item carousels by a large amount, especially in earlier carousels. I actually think this is wrong. I think it should be that full item carousels are seen less in later carousels, because by then it's harder to pivot. Whereas if you have full item carousels in the earlier carousels, you can kind of use those to build your comp around. But when you're in stage 3 and stage 4, like I'm already like 40 gold into mech or something, or I'm already hyper rolled into Xayah. I already have established my Rage Blade for Kale, and then I'm gonna get full item carousels for like things I can't use. So I actually think I'm actually surprised they're doing it this way, because I don't think I care too much. Like, if my very first carousel, like a 2-3, is like a full item carousel, I'm like, Mort got me again. But it's like, I can deal with that. Like, it's not a big deal. It's the ones where I'm playing like Printer and I really need a last tier that I get really affected by, like the 4-3 carousel, especially. It's only the full random item carousel. You'll still see the full bad item carousel the same amount. Oh. Then this is pretty much irrelevant. Okay, I guess it doesn't matter. I thought it meant like all the full item carousels. Okay, whatever, it's fine. Item drops are now more likely to appear in early PvE rounds. I think this is better for the game. Because the more items you get early, the better it is for you to be able to figure out where your comp is. You've all had such situations, or I've had a lot of situations where the end of stage, okay, going into 5-1, where there no more single item carousels are available till 6-3. Pretty much what ends up happening is you have, on average, between, I think, 11 to 15 items. It feels really bad to get four of those components, 4 of those items dropped at the very, very last PvE round. Because most of the game is already set. It's already decided. I think it's nice that item drops are a little bit more beforehand. Galactic Army, all players start with the same 2 flags. I don't like this. I don't like this. So, stuff I don't like in terms of carousel. I don't like Super Dense, which got fixed here. And then afterwards, I don't mind like the Star Cluster. Treasure Trove is fun. Lilac is okay. But this one is just... Alright, so here, I'll give you an example. So, I feel like the idea is like, who can use these items more efficiently? But what it really is it tunnels a lot of people into playing very specific comps, and whoever high rolls the other items or gets the right items on a carousel wins. And sure, you can play the game better, and you can end with evil items. You're in the worst position, but you end in a better position than other players. But like, let's say you get something where it's like, okay, you get Chalice plus X, or you get like Red Buff plus X. If you get Red Buff, every person in the game is going Blasters, and luckily Blasters is splashable by like pretty much every comp in the game. But it's like a lot of times there's certain items that really force you into certain comps, like let's say Chalice. I think the Killing Printer, but in current patch, let's say that it dropped where everyone pretty much forces Printer, and if you don't have Printer, it's gonna feel kind of bad to have a wasted item, right? You're given something like... Yeah, I think it's only okay if you're given something that is pretty universal. Like, let's say you get 2 defensive items, you're giving stuff like ZZ Rod or like Redemption. Stuff that's like, okay, well, you can use that in every comp in the game. Who cares? But when you're given very targeted damage or mana items, sometimes there's just like very few optimal champions that could use those items. It won't be any spat items, sure, but I still don't... Initially, I don't like this. Maybe play on this more, I'll think otherwise. Updated Galaxy odds. So Galactic Armory is the most. There's Nicoverse, Lilac, Medium Legends, Super Dense, Trade Sector, Treasure Trove, Star Cluster, normal games. Okay, let me tell you which one I like the most. Well... I actually do like normal games a lot, so okay. Okay, but aside from that, let's say which else do I like? I like Trade Sector. I like Treasure Trove. I think there's a lot of decision making in those that Trade Sector especially, which allow you to kind of balance like how hard you go with your upgrades, as well as like hitting econ, stuff like that. I think it's cool. Star Cluster is not bad. The stuff I disliked the most was Super Dense from before. Now it's probably fine. This is my most hated Galaxy right now. I hope this turns into 0% soon. I'm like even okay with Lilac Nebula. These are 2 probably the ones I dislike the most, but this one in particular, I feel doesn't give me as many choices as you'd expect. Medium Legends just make the games go longer, and sure you stabilize more, and sure like you can get a better end game. You can sacrifice more life early for econ, but like that, it doesn't feel like you're creating that many more decisions for yourself as the other galaxies do. It just feels like the games are longer for not really much payoff. So I don't really like this, personally speaking. My least favorite one. Mech Pilot attack damage. It turns into 80 plus 45% of Mech Pilot's attack damage. This is probably a huge nerf for your upgraded mechs, right? Because base 80 goes up by a lot. And it's better for your early mech, probably, because 80 is flat as good. This seems, okay, nerfs to mech seem really weird to me. Cause I don't necessarily think mech mech, for me, isn't that problematic. The problem with mech is not the 3x3 mech. Like, the 3 units in mech are not the problem. In per se. The biggest problem with mech is the fact that Xayah has demo spat and Morelos, and the way her AoE range hits everything. And the optimal position for Xayah is literally here, let me pull this out. Your optimal position for Xayah a lot of times is in the middle. Cause her ability hits this much range. So it's like, yeah, if they're corner, you move her here, mate, and here, and it's like, wow, this is my decision making for playing Kaisa. Woo! Like for me, that's not great, and the fact that she abuses demo spats so much on this particular comp is what makes her, what makes the comp so deadly, and in my opinion, has a lot of frustration problems. Additionally, the other problem with mech, in my opinion, is the fact that mech damage is the same regardless or not if you kill the big mech. So I think there's a lot of frustration. For me, if I kill the mech, I would expect some sort of payoff. I'm taking the same amount of damage killing the mech as not killing the mech. I would want at least the damage to be cut by, like, you know, let's say if I could put 20% of the overall damage I take into the mech, the super Garen, and then 80% into the individual units, saving additional 2 life every time I hit the mech player would help a lot. Because a lot of times against mech infiltrators, you're just trying to stabilize. It feels really fucking bad when you take 20 damage every time you hit this guy. Not just because like you position poorly, but because like you don't really get much benefit for killing the super Garen. So yeah, I think demo is a lot of the problem. Kaisa is a lot of the problem, and the way the damage is dealt is a lot of the problem. The actual damage of the mech, it's like okay, but I feel like that's not where a lot of the frustration comes from. And mech keeps getting nerfed, which is, in my opinion, a problem because there's 4 front lines in this game, right? There's protectors, there's mech, there's brawler, and there's vanguard. Protector is not even a front line. Like, it's not even playable because there isn't a fork. There isn't like a late game protector. It's like an early game only comp. On top of that, mech isn't splashable. You can't. The idea is you should be able to play mech sorcerers and mech infiltrators, but mech sorcerers like isn't really playable from what I understand. So these mech keeps getting nerfed because of infiltrators, which is costing like I guess the variety that you're able to play the game like to be worse overall, because mech pilot should be more splashable than it is. It's just 100% being abused by one particular synergy. Anyways, that's my whole thing about that. Infiltrators now jump regardless if there's a target within their attack range on starter combat. Oh. See, a nerf to Echo cyber comps for frontline Echo. A nerf, I don't know if it's a nerf, but a change to RFC Shaco and a buff to positioning against mech. So when you're playing against infiltrators and you're positioning, let's say you're a fucking madman and you're playing Caitlyn carry because you just really like Caitlyn and you like the way she looks and the way she auto attacks and her ulti, whatever. If you put your unit here and their unit is right here, they can't reasonably kill your carry in the mech 1v1 anymore, right? Because their mechs will always jump down here. So it makes positioning against mech or really interesting. Obviously, against infiltrators is really interesting. Obviously, if your mech is right here, it's going to cleave and kill your Caitlyn in 3 autos. But it does make positioning a lot more interesting in the matchup. Sorry, I don't mean mech. I mean infiltrators. You guys know what the fuck I fucking mean. Come on. Anyways, let's keep going. Poppy Buckler toss damage goes down. The shield goes down. I think just nerfing the damage and the shield matters a lot. It goes down by 50, goes down by 100. TF cards goes down by 100. Xayah AD goes down by 5. What? Alright, Xayah is still playable then. Shredder is for sure still playable. I thought it'd be more than this. Okay, so Xayah is play 5 AD is a decent amount. If with all the like the multiplicative crit stuff that you get with Last Whisper IE, but it's not that much. It's definitely, I don't think it's worth the trade out. The comparable to like 100 shield health and damage, or 50 shield damage and 100 damage off TF. So Canyon Lane got hit really hard. Xayah got hit pretty soft. Ziggs got a really big buff, 45 to 40. It means 1 less auto in between its ultis. This actually matters a lot. Ziggs originally got nerfed because he was too good. But now they nerfed the flat mana you get and I think and they made it so it doesn't scale off of Scarra'S as well. So I think they're okay making Ziggs a better unit. I think Ziggs is actually a really sleeper 1 cost. Very, very strong 2 cost because he abuses the 2 Vanguard frontline really, really well right now. So Ziggs is going to be a monster, I think. Continuing on, Yasuo got buffed quite a bit. That's great. I think Yasuo just... I wish they'd revert his targeting, honestly. I don't know why it's the way it was. I thought it was really cool to have to play around Yasuo. Like, okay, I have to slam like my items and stack up like a frontliner so he doesn't automatically kill my carry. And sure, there was frustrating moments about that, but at least there was counterplay. Now it feels like Yasuo targeting is just stupid. It's like, how do I play with Yasuo targeting? How do I control my own Yasuo's targeting? I don't like it at all. But I do think the Yasuo buffs are really nice for the comp. So these are rebel buffs. These are rebel buffs. Karma attack speed bonus on shield goes to 50%. 75%, 125. Okay. Dark Star buff for Sniper Vanguard, and buff in general. A lot of times when you're looking to play a second, Mystic, most people default Soraka because she's pretty good right now. But I think even when you're running single or duo carry comps, you don't run Karma. But now maybe Karma might get chosen because 75% AS is quite a bit. Syndra unleashed damage per orb got increased by 20, 30, 50, which is quite a bit, right? Because you get a lot of balls. It might mean that you no longer need Death Cap to be able to one-shot on the first ulti, or that Death Cap on the first ulti always one-shots. So this buff actually seems quite good. Maybe Star Guardians is back on the menu, actually. Syndra buffs are always kind of scary for that comp. Kill damage goes down at kill tier 3. I'm actually surprised they didn't nerf kill 2. I think kill 3, honestly, if you hit kill 3, you're probably winning anyways. I'll be honest, that unit's insane. But I also think kill 1 might be a little too strong right now, especially when compared to a lot of other 4 costs. But maybe that's okay. Because there needs to be some value in 4 costs, right? I think, yeah, that's not a big deal. Spell Vel'Koz damage goes up by 25 and 50. Okay. They're gonna nerf Printer, right? I literally read it right here with the typo. And so they need to buff Vel'Koz because I feel like he's not a strong enough unit without Printer a lot of the times. Wukong cycling target now prioritizes hitting the closest enemy he hasn't hit rather than a random one. I like this. It means he doesn't go really crazy in how he loops around. Like, he's able to CC the front line and then go backwards to CC the back line. Nice AI change. Chalice now restores, I'm pretty sure they meant to write 8 mana instead of 10. This may seem like a really small amount, but the perfect items, which are Seraphs, 2 Chalices, no longer, it restores 16 mana instead of 20, which means Sona needs to auto once to be able to go again. That's a really big nerf, actually, like a humongous nerf. It buys a lot of time for the teams against Chalice, and so it's definitely like a nerf that you're gonna feel a lot. I don't know if Printer's dead. It's probably still playable, but it's definitely something where it's not like you're guaranteed first place, or you can 100% streak if you get perfect Sona items. Deathblade starting stacks at 1. Now displays the amount of attack damage you gain rather than stacks. Okay, Deathblade might be okay now. Deathblade honestly was only used in Rebel Jinx, and even then it felt kind of weird to use Deathblade in Rebel Jinx. I feel like Deathblade's been really weird in the sense that it's been like a good item into a terrible item, and now it might be a usable item if you're able to have like a Shiv or something proc the assists, or a Blaster to proc the assists. Red buff and Morello damage going down by 2%. I'm honestly surprised it's not more. It feels like red buff, a lot of times the way people stabilize in mid game is by red buff doing like half of your team's overall damage on the Lucian in the mid game. I think red buff might be too good, but maybe it needs to be this high damage to even be able to deal with some of the frontliners you have right now. Anyways, okay. Jin no longer strips certain combat effects. Jin's Force Shot. Okay, certain PV enemies no longer contort into balls and float around. That's funny. Xayah now fires a visual missile when performing a critical auto attack. I didn't even know he could crit. MF no longer occasionally has her larger cone upgrade when players who own her hasn't purchased her upgrade. Oh, I saw this before. Sometimes you can buy MF with a buff, so you just saved 8 gold. That's kind of OP. Fix the issue where some players will arrive late to their first carousel. Yes, mobile players, we get it. I remember this. Improve the detection of click and drag to make it easier to move characters and items around the board. Oh! Does this mean that the bug of me clicking on an item and then it clicking the item, picking up the item behind it, and then me combining and making a fool of myself is going to disappear? I'm very excited for this one. This one seems really good. That's a buff to me, man. While viewing your board from a carousel, oh my god. Alright, we're staying. This is the best patch of the set. Holy. I can't count the amount of times I've watched from the carousel, I forget my items. And maybe it's because I'm going senile, but like, I don't remember my 2 or 3 components on the board. I have to be like, oh, okay, did I get the glove? And did I get the vest? And the chain? And having, this used to be available in set 2, and then a patch broke it. And finally, it's back again. God bless. I can actually remember my items by mousing over my board. Thank God. General drag and drop improvement. Oh, this is all mobile. I'm not a mobile gamer. Okay, so overall, looking over the patch, super dense fix is great. This buff fix for carousel stuff is great. The chalice nerf is great because chalice is really heavily overtuned. I'm good on the poppy. The TF nerfs feel great. It still probably makes the comp playable if you high roll a lot of poppies. And I'm worried that the Xayah nerf wasn't enough. It made it. I think the changes are relatively small overall, but it shouldn't matter a lot because if Printer and like Xayah as well as TF aren't dominating the meta, it means you can kind of stabilize the forecast a little bit earlier. You're taking a little bit less damage. And they buffed the Space Pirate for drop chance, so maybe, I don't know, Space Pirates are kind of interesting now too. I'm really interested to see how this all turns out. Overall, just off of this and just off of the item stuff, I'm pretty happy. The chalice stuff, I'm really happy. And the Poppy TF nerf, I'm pretty happy. And the Xayah one, I'm worried this isn't enough. If it was 10 AD, I'd be a lot happier, but it probably makes the unit unplayable without items, which might actually be okay.